Okay, so good night, everybody, again. So tonight we're gonna just reflect a bit on last week, what happened last week. Now, last week I was very much looking for the JPYs um to give me a retest to continue their way up, right? But the buyers still have a lot of momentum on the JPYs and they didn't start to drop as yet. So we're gonna look at the JPYs still as a potential move. Most JPYs, when that sell does come for the retest, most of them have like a 500 pip drop to do, right? For that retest before they continue buying. So what we're gonna do first is that we're gonna start with the DXY and come down, have a look at the majors, see what we expect. For this week, I do love EU, GU, NU and U chef for some moves. So we're gonna look at that. But before we get into that, let's look at the DXY, let's look at the dollar, see what the dollar is doing, how it's performing for this week, where we expect it to go, etc. Right? So this is the DXY chart. I'm gonna go on the daily first, right? Now, one thing I want us to look at here on the daily time frame. Let me just bring up my MACD, right? So we had structure here, right? Structure here as well. So structure was broken, right? At the beginning of October, we had structure actually broke, right? And went to the upside. So the structure breaking, right, on the daily time frame, we're now looking for a retest, right? So we had a breakout, we're looking for the retest of structure and a continuation to the upside, right? Now I'm looking, first for the DXY to come out here into this particular imbalance zone, and then we will take it from there. So right now, the DXY is actually preparing to give us that retest that I am looking for before it continues to go up, right? So I just want us to understand first what it is we're looking at, right? So everybody can see my horizontal line that I have here. Structure was broken, right? At the beginning of October, we're now looking for that retest. So break a structure, retest, continuation to the upside. Okay. All right. So let me come down to the 4 hour time frame actually. Right. So what I'm looking for, I'm just looking for price to come down into this zone, give us a nice retest before it continues to go up, right? I don't know if anyone caught the notes that I have on the daily time frame here. So I do have basically if the DXY is buying, then look for XXX USD to sell and USD XXX to buy, right? And if the DXY is selling, look for XXX USD to buy and USD XXX to sell. Okay, so basically XXX USD goes opposite to the DXY and USD XXX goes with the DXY. So it goes in the same direction as the DXY in terms of the move that we're looking for. Right? So I still have the DXY, like I said, to come down and give us this retest. It's starting to come into our zone, right? And then for it to take a bite. Now, if I am looking overall now for the DXY to sell first and then buy, means that really and truly I should be seeing some movement on EU, GU, AU, and NU for them to buy first and then sell.
Sorry,
Right? Yes, please.
can I ask a question before you go any further?
Go ahead.
On the 4 hour,
Mm-hmm.
you could see it right here as well. Would you say, can I say that structure at the top there
Mm-hmm.
is structure as well?
Up here?
The no, to the bottom of this, the thing there.
Down here?
This, well, just by that red line, can I say that is structure as well, or
Right here?
not? With that whole red line, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's starting to form. which is what you have here. So you have a low starting to form, but it's not completed. Because if we look at the MACD, if we look where the MACD is right now,
Mm-hmm.
the sellers still have momentum, right? So you can see that the MACD bars are starting to go through the signal line again, which means that the sellers are picking back up momentum to continue. So this low is not completed. So there's a high probability that, you know, we continue to get this sell down here, and this then will end up being the low that we're looking for. So this isn't completed as yet on the 4-hour time frame.
So I want to, it will not be wise to draw a line. You see where the red line is? And say that is structure, right? No, that'd be incorrect if I did that.
So if I go on to the 1-hour time frame, this is 1-hour structure.
Mm-hmm.
On the 4-hour time frame structure, the low is not finished as yet. On the 1-hour time frame, it is completed because look, you have this low here, right? So this was 1 hour. This is the 1-hour high. This is the 1-hour low, right? So let me
I was
just
looking at the whole thing. Okay. So I just didn't really list the kind of like the right part, the right side right here. I would just be looking at that part, and not necessarily that whole thing.
this will be it here, yeah. So this will be the low, and this will be the high, based off of the MACD. Because don't forget, now you can use the MACD to identify structure. So here, this is showing you the high. You can see the 1-hour high here, and then here, this is showing you the 1-hour low. So now we know that this is basically resistance, and this is basically support, basically.
Okay.
Right? So yes, what you're asking me about on the 4-hour time frame, this is 1-hour structure, but on the 4-hour time frame, the structure is not finished. The low is not finished forming as yet.
Let me see 4-hour again.
So this is the 4-hour.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not completed as yet.
Okay, so right. So if that was completed, then I can use the green for the high, and then the red would be for the low. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, right. So yeah, so because like I mentioned too, based on Sharon's question, given the 4-hour is not the 4-hour is not finished forming its low, I am looking for the low to come down here and retest. Right? So I'm looking for a price to come down here and retest, which is where you can see that the sellers are picking up momentum again. So if you look, you will notice the bar is starting to go through the signal line. Again, sellers picking up momentum, right? Which is what we're looking for, which is what we want to see. Because like I told you guys, this is structure. So this is structure here as in resistance. For those who don't understand the meaning of structure, you know, resistance here. So you had a break of it, and now you're looking at the retest of it for it to continue to go to the upside. Right? So basically on the DXY, if I am looking for the DXY to sell some more and then make a turn and buy after it retests, then I am looking for EU to buy some more, make a turn, and then sell after the retest, right? And likewise for GU, AU, NU, and so on. But we're gonna look at them individually because it's all good and well to write down something based on what we would say the book, what is on the book basically, or what the book would say. But then sometimes the practical version of it can always differ. It can always change. So I don't want persons to just automatically tell themselves, oh, well, the DXY is selling, so I can look for EU to buy. I don't want persons to trade like that. I don't want you guys to trade like that. I don't want you guys to trade in the way where I say, well, the DXY can look to buy, so look for EU and GU to sell. Don't just look to sell because of that. But you also have to look at them individually. Like each one has its own case study. You have to analyze and see how it looks to you, if it's matching up to what you're saying, but also don't force it, right? So so moving on from the DXY, let's look at Euro USD, right? So Euro USD. Okay. Now I had EU to come up to this zone and then sell, right? Now, for those who familiar with patterns, right? This is an inverted head and shoulder pattern forming, right? And everybody could see that this basically is a neckline, right? It was also a 1 hour structure at some point as well, because you could see that when the MACD crossed over here, it created a 1 hour high. So this was a 1 hour high at one point, right? Which lines up as our neckline for the inverted head and shoulder pattern. So what I am actually looking at for EU is for EU to come up to my neckline and test it to give me that 100% retest, right? Because what you would notice is that the head and shoulder pattern has 4 components. You have a left shoulder, you have a head, you have a right shoulder, and you have a neckline, right? So we got a left shoulder here, we have a head, right? To validate the head of the head and shoulder pattern, you should get 100% retracement to the neckline. So if this is the neckline, then I need the head to at least come up and give me 100% retracement. It needs to come up here and test the neckline. And it hasn't as yet. So really and truly what this is showing me is that the head has not completed its formation as yet. So, and which is good, because some persons might be looking at this saying, okay, well, this inverted, I could see the inverted head and shoulder pattern. So when price comes up here, let's say, for example, we had a candle spike and break the neckline. People start to jump in looking for that buy, not understanding that for a head and shoulder pattern, you need 100% retracement of the head. And that is how the market also can trick people out of trades, because if I get a solid body candle breaking my neckline, and then somebody say, we got 1 hour break, let me jump in for the buy. And then 2 tools, the market drops and fades out that entire move. When you're asking yourself, but I don't understand, I had a break to the upside. Look at it case by case and understand. Make sure that you write down inverted head and shoulder pattern has 4 components. The components are a left shoulder, a head, a right shoulder, and a neckline, right? To validate that the head has completed its formation, it must give you 100% retracement to that neckline. So it must touch the neckline. And in some cases, it would give you a false breakout at the neckline, making you feel that it's ready to take off, and then it drops, right? So that 100% retracement that I'm looking at would validate my move for then the right shoulder to be created, which also validates the move that I am looking at on the DXY, because I did start off by telling you guys. So that's why this is another point I want to make too. Guys, when you're analyzing the charts, please make notes. Don't make them in your mind or in your brain. Write down the notes, because trading forms a story. Trading gives you a story. The charts give you a story. You can actually pull together the entire story that the chart is telling you. for it to make sense. It all gives you an entire story for book. Right? So I start off by saying, okay, guys, based on the DXY, we had a break of structure. We're looking for a retest of the structure and then a continuation to the upside. So if I'm looking for the DXY to sell first and then buy, because the sell has to come to give me the retest of the structure and then buy off of that structure, then yes, on paper, then I would be looking for EU, GU, AU, and NU to buy first and then sell because they move opposite to the DXY. But that's on paper. But I am still telling you guys that as much as we know that on paper, right, you still need to analyze the charts and each pair case by case. Okay? It's still important. But it's also a good feeling when you see that the chart is lining up and it's coming together and it's forming an entire story for you. It's a good feeling. Okay, so EU, so from the DXY over to EU, like I said, we have a pattern here forming, which is great. This is our case study here for EU. We have an inverted head and shoulder pattern here forming. Lovely. We've also identified the 4 components of the inverted head and shoulder pattern, right? And one point that I have made so far is that the head is not completed until it gives you 100% retracement to that neckline. So this head is not done. Therefore, this lines up for me to come up to my neckline. So I'm going to watch it. We can see that EU is giving us some momentum to go up. So I want to see EU come up to my neckline, test my neckline, and then it's going to look to drop. Why is it going to drop? Because then it has to form a right shoulder. Right? It has to form a right shoulder. Okay. So if you guys are looking at a counter trend trade as such, you can look at this sell back into this zone. All right. You could look at a 60 pip sell, probably during London, back into this zone. All right. So I am looking for the trade to come down here. Give me this sell and then look to give me that high and break to the upside. But once my right shoulder is formed. So that's the move that I am looking at on Euro USD. So keep your eyes on EU this week. You can have a counter trend trade where you take this sell down to this level. Once you start to get close to this level, guys, it will start to take my profit because you're going against the move of this pattern, right? Going against it. So so definitely this is a setup. Alternatively, you can move with the trend and just wait for the price to come into this zone, wait for this retest, and then look to buy and take that entire move of this inverted head and shoulder pattern up to the top here. Okay. All right, that's the play here. So make note of that. This is a move for EU. I'm looking for price to continue up to here. As you can see, we're starting to get that push up anyway. And then for us to get a sell back down to these areas here. Okay. So so yeah, so you guys could look at either a counter trend trade here to here, But definitely the real play is when we get the retest into this zone, taking the actual trade to the upside to complete this entire pattern. That is the real play, right? And that move alone is over 100 pips. So you could easily get 100 pips from this move, guys. Easily this week. Okay, so that is Euro USD. So I'm really liking that setup, to be honest. All right, let's look at GBP USD. Okay, so GU, all right, coming up into my area of imbalance. So this is my imbalance zone over here, right? So my imbalance zone is within that area, and I'm looking for price to basically give me a double top into this zone. I'm gonna watch it though, right? So looking for GU to come up, give me a double top into this zone, and then drop back into here. Right, so I have GU to basically come back into the imbalance zone and then give me a sell off of the imbalance zone back into this zone here. Right, so that is GU. It didn't like EAU for this week, so I'm gonna go to NZUSD. NZUSD right now is in my imbalance zone. Everybody can see my imbalance zone here. So NU is in my imbalance zone. So I am looking at, similar to GU, I am looking for a double top to farm, which is currently happening, right? So I'm looking for price to farm the double top within this imbalance zone and then look to drop, right? So definitely looking at NZUSD coming down into these areas as well. So this too is also a nice play, right? If you could get the counter trend trade, it is 100 pip move. Alternatively, you can wait for the retest into this zone, into this imbalance area, and look to capture a buy. All right, so you could definitely look for that. So NZUSD also has a nice setup for this week as well, so you guys can look for that. Okay, so that's NZUSD. Hopefully everybody caught that. Can take a picture or whatever off of that. Everybody could see what I'm looking for. So for price to come up into this zone, give me a double top and then drop. Once we get into this zone, you can look for price to move back to the upside. Okay. Okay. USD Chef. So USD Chef trading in an ascending channel, right? And what we have USD Chef doing is repeating something that I did in the past. Now, you would have heard me say this many times where I say, guys, the chart repeats itself. Price repeats itself. It does. Okay? Price repeats itself. Okay? So what we have, let's go to the forward time frame. So we have, let me just take this off and show you guys from the start because I did go through my charts tonight to prepare for trading this week. Okay, so what we have here, we had price coming down to the bottom of our ascending channel, and then we had a push to the upside, right? So price basically was rejected here. Now, during this rejection, an imbalanced candle was formed. Here it is. right? So you got 4-hour imbalance candle here. This is the imbalance zone here. Okay, that's the imbalance zone here. So this is the 4-hour imbalance candle. This is the imbalance zone here, right? Wick of the candle to the left and the wick of the candle to the right of the imbalance candle gives you the actual imbalance zone. So now that we've identified our imbalance zone, right? What I was looking at earlier, price was around here. I was saying that, sorry, price was around here when I was looking at the chart earlier. So what I was saying is that I'm looking for price to come into my imbalance zone some more, right? And then I'm looking for price to make a move to the upside. Now, this is not something that I'm looking to get into, guys, because let's identify structure, right? Now, this is the last 1 hour high. You can see that the MACD gave us the last 1 hour high. And prior to that, this was the last 1 hour low here. So I'm not interested in getting into USHF right now. If USHF was to continue selling, for example, for me to be interested in it, it would have to give me a breakout of my 1 hour low. I would need my low to be broken. If I'm interested in a USHF buy, I more or less would need a breaker structure on USHF, all right? A retest, and then I will look to get in USHF for the buy. Right, that's what I'll be looking at. So really and truly what I'm waiting on USHF is to see if I'm going to get a 1 hour breaker structure to the upside. All right, so I'm just gonna put this here. Gonna see. Now, guys, if we don't get a break of structure here, please leave USHF for the time being. Right? If we don't get a breaker structure, so if we don't get a 1 hour breaker structure, right? If we don't get a 1 hour breaker structure here, then leave USHF for the time being. So we need either the high or the low to break. Okay, so that is the play for USHF. We already know the play for EU, GU, and NU, but for USHF, I prefer for us to wait for a break, right? Because right now price still moving kind of flat, and we need to be confident and sure about the direction that our trade is going. Okay, all right. Next setup is USD JPY. So like I said at the start of class, the JPYs did not start to give us a retest as yet last week. Because remember, I started off with saying really interesting in JPYs for this week. And that was in last week's video and last week's class. But the JPYs really strong in their momentum. The buyers were really strong in their momentum. And didn't start to slow down as yet. So what I am starting to see now is price starting to give us, you know, slow down a bit. However, 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 right? No, so let me just see. Right, this is structure here on the 15 and 30-minute time frame. Right, this is structure right here on the 15 and 30-minute time frame. What I would like is a 1 hour structure. I'm not going to tell you guys that the JPYs are going to look to sell right now. I'm going to watch it because what I had was for USD JPY, right? Because it's so close to this zone. I had UJ to go up some more to up here and then give us the drop. But what I would also say is that I'm not really that interested in selling UJ personally. Right? The zones right now, they're just a bit too close. So what I'm waiting on for UJ, guys, is that I'm waiting for this retest. Once price comes into this zone, I'm waiting for a retest to catch the buy to the upside. All right. So that is what I'm waiting on UJ itself. The other JPYs, I would like to catch a sell move on them. But with UJ, I'm waiting for this retest. Oh, come on. Right. So I already have UJ to still continue to go up to here and then give me a drop. Now, why am I looking at UJ coming up to there? Let me just run through that with you guys. So first you have to look to see when last price was in this zone. The last time price was really in this zone before it broke that structure was here back in January 2017. Right? I think I found an imbalance candle here. Here. This is the imbalance zone. Right? I had an imbalance zone here. I believe on the 4 hour time frame. It had this imbalance zone that I identified. So what I was looking at was price coming into that imbalance zone to fill the imbalance and then continue give us our retest. So basically I'm looking for price to push up. We're gonna see if price gives us that push up and then come down here to give us a retest. But like I said, I'm more interested in the retest on UJ for the buy. So I'm more interested in catching the buy on UJ than I am for the sell in this retest. So I'm not really that interested in the counter trend trade there. Okay. Gold. All right, guys. So gold, you know, we had a nice push to the downside. What am I looking at now on gold? I am looking for gold really and truly to come up. I would like to see gold come up to this zone, which really and truly is my imbalance zone on. There we go. 4-hour time frame. Here is my imbalance candle. All right, so here's my imbalance candle on the 4-hour time frame. Everybody can see imbalance candle on the 4-hour time frame. So I'm looking to see if gold is going to push up, fill my imbalance, and then give me a drop back into this zone. Way into this zone before it moves off again, because this is another 4-hour imbalance candle that I have. And what you will notice is that the market fills imbalance zones. So you literally can trade from imbalance to imbalance as a repeated cycle. You can trade from imbalance to imbalance as a repeated cycle. Legit. Right? So we have an imbalance for our candle here, and we also have one here. So if we get gold coming back up into this zone, then I'm definitely looking at a sell back in to fill this imbalance. Right? So that's the move that I am looking at on gold. It is not a favorite, absolute favorite for this week, because my favorite so far for this week is EUGU and U-Chef a bit, but as I said with U-Chef, we gotta look for that breaker structure. We gotta wait for price breaking that structure for sure. Right? But gold is on my outlook. I'm gonna watch it. Should price come into that zone and give me the confirmation, then I definitely would take myself from here. Right? But until then, leave gold for now until we get a clear retest. Okay. All right. So JPYs again. So back to Euro JPY. For EJ, this is one time that I would say that I am interested in a counter trend trade, and that is this drop for the retest. Now, last week I would have shown you guys that EJ had a nice breaker structure. So we see that we had a 4-hour a daily breaker structure here, right? And price actually never came back in to fill any of this imbalance. This is your imbalance candle here. Everybody see it, right? Wick to the left, wick to the right. This is your imbalance candle. So we have a lot of this to fill. And but right now price is going up to this daily engulfing candle and also imbalance candle here. So I'm looking for price to come into this zone because it's not really in the zone, it's just on the outside. So that's why I'm not really looking for the sell as yet, right? So I have price to push up some more. So let price come into this zone some more, into this imbalance zone, and then we can look for a sell. I am very much interested in this counter trend trade. All right, I'm interested in catching this sell because it's a 280 pip move, and you can at least come out of this move with minimum 100 pips. Minimum. Right? And waiting for this to retest here may give you, I don't know, it may take a 2 weeks or so. So we could definitely look at that counter trend trade. So let price come into this imbalance zone some more. As I said, it's on the outside right now. Wait for it to come into this zone and then look for that sell. I'm very much interested in it. All right, very much interested in it. So once I get price started to creep into here, I will drop a short order on it and we can look at selling Euro JP. right? Similar thing for GBP, JPY. Yeah, she already set the chart art on it on this one, but just it off now. GBP, JPY again close to my imbalance zone. Right, close to my area. So I looking for price to come back in to fill this. Right. So I'm very much interested in GJ pushing up some more. Similar thing that I have UJ to do. Similar thing that I have EJ to do. I am looking for GJ to push up some more. So that's why I told you guys, when you're analyzing your peers, make notes, because the peers all form a story. So the story that we can pull together from these JPYs right now is that we're looking for the JPYs to push up some more before we look for that sell. Because so far, that's the case with all three of the JPY pairs that we've analyzed so far. So GJ is just on the outside of my imbalance zone. Wait for it to come into this zone some more, and then we could look to sell. Right? We got a nice counter trend trade as well, you know, that we can catch some pips off of. The retest of this zone, so this sell is a retest, right? So remember what we spoke about last week. So if you go back to last week notes, you will notice that last week I would have said we had a breaker structure to the upside on the JPY pairs. Nice, strong, solid breaker structure. So when we get a breaker structure, what are we looking for? We're looking for a retest. So this retest that is going to happen is the counter trend trade that I am talking about for the sell. That's the retest we're looking at, right? And in a case like that, even with this GJ pair, that retest alone is over 700 pips. You could take 100 pips over that. If you're going to take the full 700, be my guest. But I'm just saying that you could take 100 pips out of that sell setup. But it will require some patience. So right now, there's nothing we can do with the JPYs because we want to wait for price to come into our imbalance zone some more, and then we will start to look for our sell. Okay, so that is that on GJ. GA, however, I believe in the morning we should be able to get a move. No, last week, because I moved it today. But last week, I told you guys to look for a sell from this, where I have my horizontal black line. Price was all down here last week. And I told you guys, wait for price to come up to here and then take a sell. Why? This is your imbalance candle. You can see it. It broke structure. This is the imbalance candle. What did price do? Price did all of this moving around, but most importantly, don't be too caught up with this. This is distractions, basically. All right? Don't get distracted by this. This is fine. Whatever price forms for its retest, don't worry too much about it. All right? Regardless of this taking its time and so on, I was still fixed on the idea that this is my imbalance candle, and I am more interested in getting it when it retests this zone for a sell. And I had the sell order, the short order right here. And price went straight and test my zone, and what did it do? Instant rejection and price fell. All right. So if anybody had that that order set that I had from last week, that you guys should have at least got 90 pips today. You could have at least gotten 90 pips today in that move. If you didn't get that move, right, have no fear. Another setup is coming, right? So we got an imbalance candle here, right? We're gonna use the wick to the left and the wick to the right to form our imbalance zone. And basically what we're looking at with this imbalance zone is that we're looking for price to give us a retest, right? Probably look for this on the 15 and 30-minute time frame. Look for a retest here. As you can see, I already have my chart order on it already. So wait for a retest in this area and then take your sell to the downside. Okay, so wait for price to come into this imbalance zone and then look to sell. Right? Similar thing with GBP Chef. GBP Chef, similar situation, right? So price came up to here where the sell started before. As you can see, we had all of this correction happening. Price came here, gave a triple top, and then started to give us a sell. No, what am I looking for? Okay, I'm looking for price to come back into this zone, give me a retest, and then my continuation sell to the downside, right? So we're gonna wait for that. Let me set it up for you guys. Chart position, and we're definitely looking at this, all right? We're definitely looking at this move. We got this to come all the way down. So we're definitely looking at that. This is the play. Wait for price to come up to here and then look to take your sell to the downside. Okay. So definitely looking forward to this particular move. This should happen during London. You need to wait for this retest to continue to come up to this zone here first, and then you guys can look to sell. All right, and just to finish off the pairs for tonight, all JPY, similar thing to GJ, EJ, and UJ, is that I'm looking for all JPY to still give me that push up as well, and then before it drops. So it's just a matter, guys, of you identifying the zone, right, for the JPYs. So I have all JPY to come into this area of imbalance, but you can see it there, right? So I have it to continue pushing into the area of imbalance and then taking a sell from there to come back down, basically, right? So you can still keep the JPYs on your watch list for this week. Obviously, it's not setups that are ready right now because we need them to come into our area of interest first. But, you know, still monitor them from time to time because that's still important. So my favorites for this week, guys, is Euro USD. Right? Definitely interested in EU. See, we're starting to get our push up. So I'm interested in EU for this to try and trade during London for this sell. And then definitely after that retest, I'll be looking at the retest to catch you by the move up with this inverted head and shoulder. So this is my favorite. Another favorite is GU, also to catch that counter trend trade. NU, also to catch that counter trend trade, right? Then GA to catch that sell continuation, right? And G-Chef to also catch that sell continuation as well, right? The rest, they're not favorites right now, but it's, you know, they have potential, just wait for them to set up, and then you would be able to trade those and catch at least 100 pips, especially off of those JPY pairs. Okay. Any questions?